During a family dinner at our shared business, my father turned to everyone and said, "Maybe one day she'll actually earn her place here, instead of just coasting on our name." Everyone laughed as I swallowed my pride. What they didn't see coming was that I had already been working with competitors, and when our client list mysteriously vanished overnight, they finally realized I was the one holding everything together. This is a story about family, betrayal, and payback. It's not a proud story. But it's true. I grew up in Napa, California. My family owns a wine distribution business that's been around for decades. My grandpa started it in the 60s with just a pickup truck and a few connections. My dad took over in the 90s and turned it into a big operation. Now we deliver to luxury resorts, restaurants, even country clubs across Northern California. I always thought I'd be part of it. I went to college, studied business and marketing. I worked hard, interned during summers, did my own thing for a couple of years after graduation, then came back home to help grow what I thought was ours. But no matter what I did, I was treated like I didn't really belong. My dad made sure everyone saw me as his daughter first, and a real businesswoman second, if that. He'd joke to clients about how I used to spend more time shopping than working and how he put me to work just to keep me out of trouble. They all laughed, and I'd laugh too. But it stung. He never said those things about my cousins Drew and Max, who also worked in the business. They got real roles. Drew managed operations. Max handled inventory and vendor relations. I got stuck in marketing, which in our family meant smiling for the website photos, writing blog posts, and updating Instagram. I tried to push for more. I asked to sit in on contract meetings. I offered to help with pitches. I built out a client retention program from scratch. Nobody noticed. Or they did, but didn't care. Then came the night everything changed. It was one of those family dinners we do at the end of every quarter. Everyone involved in the business gets together, the actual family, plus some of the senior staff, like our lead sales guy and his wife. We hosted it at our private tasting house on the vineyard property. Big table, good food, lots of wine. My dad was in a great mood. Numbers were up. We'd just closed a deal with 2 resorts near Tahoe. He was telling the story like he had made it all happen. Left out that I'd flown to Tahoe twice to build that relationship. Left out the negotiations I ran. Left out that I personally rewrote their event wine program to match our pricing tiers. At one point during dinner, my dad raised his glass, pointed toward me, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Maybe one day she'll actually earn her place here." Instead of just coasting on our name. Everyone laughed. Like, really laughed. Even my cousins. Even the sales guy. I smiled, kept chewing my food, and waited for the moment to pass. But something shifted inside me that night. I realized I was never going to be treated like an equal. I could work 10 times harder, bring in double the business, save them from ruin, and I'd still be the daughter who got a spot because of her last name. What they didn't know was that by then, I had already started working with one of our competitors. It started small. A girl I went to college with, Kelsey, worked at a newer wine logistics firm based out of Santa Rosa. They were lean, smart, and trying to cut into our territory. She reached out just to get coffee when she heard I was back in Napa. During the coffee, she vented. Said they couldn't land any accounts in the area because of how locked down we were. Said they were desperate to find cracks in our system. I didn't plan to betray anyone at first. But I shared a few general observations. What customers cared about. How slow our delivery system really was. How we underpaid drivers and pushed the sales team too hard. Kelsey listened, took notes, and thanked me. A week later, I got a Venmo from her with the note, "For your insight, that was gold, $300. It wasn't about the money. It was about feeling valued. Seen. I gave a little more the next time. How we tracked new leads. Which sales guys were lazy. Which clients were unhappy. Kelsey looped in her VP. They offered me a consulting fee. I created fake Gmail accounts and sent them rewritten pitch decks, supplier contact info, and the sales script our team used on cold calls. Nobody at our place noticed. Or maybe they didn't want to believe I was capable of doing anything important. Eventually, I started steering business away from us. I knew which clients were at risk, and I warned our competitor before our team ever followed up. I rewrote proposals for them that were cleaner and more attractive than ours. I showed them how to break our pricing. They started winning. Quietly, but steadily. It went on for 4 months. Then I planned the kill shot. I worked with one of their tech guys to create a simple but devastating exploit. Our database was cloud-based but riddled with poor access controls. I didn't need to hack anything, I already had admin access. I exported our entire client list, wiped it, then corrupted the backup files. I knew the passwords. I changed them all. That same morning, our vendors started getting strange emails. I'd pre-written them. They said we were pausing all shipments for internal review. They came from our official domain. I set them on a timed send. Within hours, the phones were ringing off the hook. Restaurants couldn't get answers. Resorts were furious. Sales guys had no idea what was happening. Our team had no way to log into the CRM. Max was yelling across the office. Drew was on the phone with IT. I didn't show up that day. Or the next. I ignored every call. I let the chaos unfold. Then, finally, after 5 days of pure panic, I sent one email, to my father and the partners. You laughed when you said I hadn't earned my place. Now you know what it looks like when I walk away. I was the one holding it all together. You just never bothered to see it. Good luck patching the holes. That's where I'll pause. Because it didn't end there. Not by a long shot. After I sent that email, I turned my phone off. I knew it would be chaos. I'd planned for that. What I didn't expect was how fast things would fall apart. By the end of the week, 3 of our biggest restaurant accounts had signed with the Santa Rosa firm. That was nearly 40% of our high-tier business. My dad must have lost his mind. He didn't email me back. He didn't call again. Nothing. But my cousin Drew did. 2 weeks later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You went too far. You didn't just screw him. You screwed all of us. I didn't reply. He followed it up a few days later with, I hope this was worth it. Then Kelsey called. They're trying to sue you, she said. My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice calm. On what grounds? She laughed. They've got nothing. No contract. No non-disclosure. Your name's not on any of the documents they'd need to prove you leaked trade secrets. They're calling it theft, I said. They can call it whatever they want, she replied. You were a consultant. They didn't respect you, didn't compensate you, didn't protect their data. That's their mistake. Still, it made me nervous. I hadn't done anything illegal, but I'd burned every bridge with my family. And some bridges collapse harder than others. That's when my aunt, my dad's sister, showed up at my apartment. I opened the door and she stood there in a fitted blazer, arms crossed, looking like she was about to launch into court testimony. I need to talk, she said, pushing her way inside. She sat down, looked around the living room like she was inspecting it for dust. You made your point, she said finally. Now undo it. I raised an eyebrow. Undo what, exactly? The damage. The bleeding. Whatever this is. Her voice was clipped and angry. You're smarter than this, but this was childish. Your father is ruined. I felt heat rising in my chest. He humiliated me in front of our entire family. He let everyone treat me like a joke. 4 years. You all did. She shook her head. So you destroyed the family business over some jokes? I stood up, walked to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water so I wouldn't throw it at her. It wasn't just jokes. It was disrespect. Being dismissed. Being invisible in my own family's legacy. I didn't destroy the business. I just stopped helping. She was quiet for a while. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Your father's sick." I blinked. What? He has early-stage Parkinson's. He didn't want to tell anyone. Not until the end of the year. He was grooming you, but he didn't know how to say it. I sat down slowly. That changed things. Or maybe it didn't. I didn't know anymore. I had to process it. Because if that was true, then it meant he was pushing me away not because he didn't believe in me, but because he didn't know how to let go. He was scared. And stupid. And prideful. And I'd kicked him while he was already falling. But I also didn't know if it was a lie. A manipulation tactic. I didn't respond. I just nodded. My aunt left without saying goodbye. A week later, I got another surprise. Max, my other cousin, showed up, but not to argue. He offered me a deal. "I know you're not coming back," he said. "But we need help. We're bleeding. And if this thing goes under, we all lose. Not just your dad. Me. Drew. The employees. Everybody." I leaned back in my chair. "You want me to save it again?" He nodded. "And we'll pay. Full partner. On paper. Real control. You call the shots." I laughed. "So now I'm finally useful?" He didn't answer that. But he left me with a folder. It had numbers in it. Bad ones. Loans they were late on. Lawsuits from vendors. Missed shipments. Angry emails from old clients. And at the bottom of the folder, a signed draft partnership agreement, with my name listed next to Drew and Max equal shares. I didn't open it that night. I poured myself a drink, sat on my balcony, and stared out at the quiet street. I'd finally won. But now they were crawling back, with a deal I had begged for years ago. And I had to ask myself one thing: was I going to save them? Or was I going to finish what I started? I didn't sign the agreement right away. I let the folder sit on my coffee table for 4 days. Every morning, I'd glance at it while sipping coffee. Every night, I'd consider picking it up. But something felt off. Too easy. Too convenient. My gut didn't trust it. So I called a friend of mine from school, Aaron, a contract lawyer in San Francisco. We met for lunch, and I slid the folder across the table. He flipped through it, silent at first. Then he frowned. "This isn't what you think it is," he said. "What do you mean?" "It looks like a standard partnership agreement, but the language is fuzzy. You'd be listed as a partner, yes, but only conditionally. Based on performance metrics. There's no real control here. If you sign this, they could freeze you out 6 months in." My jaw tightened. "They tried to screw me again?" Aaron nodded slowly. "Not just screw you. This is a trap. They want your help to fix it. But once it's back on track, they'll vote you out." That was all I needed to hear. I didn't tell Max. I didn't call Drew. I didn't answer when my dad finally texted me, "Can we talk?" Just the two of us. Instead, I made my own move. I reached out to 2 of our former clients who had switched over to the Santa Rosa firm, big hotel chains we used to service. I asked for a meeting. Not as a sales pitch. Just a conversation. They both agreed. Turns out, they weren't thrilled with the new firm. They liked the service, but they missed our speed and inventory access. One of them even said, "If your family wasn't such a damn mess, we would have never left." That lit a spark in me. I didn't need to save my dad's business. I could build my own. With the contacts I had, and what I already knew about the market, I could cut straight through and start a leaner, smarter version of the exact same thing. No baggage. No dead weight. No family drama. So I did. I quietly filed paperwork for a new LLC, Oak and Rise Distributors. I brought Kelsey over as my operations lead. We poached 2 drivers who had quit my dad's company months ago. I rented a modest warehouse on the outskirts of Sonoma. We didn't need much at first, just 3 contracts to get us going. We got 5. Within 2 months, we were profitable. Within 3, we were actively taking clients from my dad's business every single week. I didn't advertise. I didn't even update my LinkedIn. It all spread by word of mouth. Distributors talk. Clients talk. When they found out I had launched my own thing, people were curious. Then impressed. Then loyal. And then I got a call from Drew. His voice was tight. Angry. You couldn't just leave it alone, could you? You mean I couldn't just go away quietly? I said. You're taking our people. No, Drew. I'm giving them a place where they're treated like they matter. He cursed under his breath. Then, Dad's sick, you know. This is killing him. I paused. I gave him the chance to treat me like more than an afterthought. He didn't take it. You're tearing this family apart. I didn't respond to that. Because here's the truth, the family was already broken. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. And just when I thought I was finally free from all of them, my stepmother called me. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up. Hey, she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Your father put your name in his will. That made me stop. What? He wanted you to have a controlling share if anything ever happened to him. It's written. Signed last year. Before all this. My heart pounded. Why are you telling me this? Because he collapsed yesterday. They think it was a minor stroke. He's stable, but, she trailed off. I didn't know what to say. He still asks about you, she added. Even now. That night, I drove back to the old estate. Not to make peace. But to see it all for myself. Because if what she said was true, I might own it all anyway, whether I wanted to or not. When I pulled into the vineyard estate, everything looked smaller than I remembered. The same old brick driveway. The same iron gates. But the place didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a memory someone had tried to keep alive too long. Inside, it was quiet. My stepmother met me at the door. Her face was tired, eyes puffy like she'd been crying off and on all day. She didn't hug me. Just nodded and led me toward the back room. My father was in a hospital bed, hooked up to a beeping monitor they must have brought in after the stroke. He looked older. Fragile. Not like the man who used to bark orders at drivers and laugh too loud at his own jokes. When he saw me, he smiled, weakly. Look what the wind dragged in, he whispered. I stood at the foot of the bed. They told me about the will. He nodded. It's true. Always meant to hand things off to you. I just didn't know how. That's the best you've got? I asked. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Mocked me. Ignored everything I did. And now that it's falling apart, you want me to remember what? That you meant well? He didn't defend himself. Instead, he looked down at the blanket on his lap. His hand was shaking. I thought pushing you harder would make you tougher, he said. I didn't know it was breaking you. We sat in silence. Then I told him the truth. I started my own company. It's growing fast. And I'm not stopping. I won't come back to fix this. I'm not saving you. He didn't look surprised. Then take it, he said. Burn it down. Or rebuild it. I don't care anymore. That was the last time we spoke. He died 3 weeks later. Another stroke. This one took everything. I didn't cry at the funeral. Everyone stared when I walked in. Some out of guilt. Some with hate in their eyes. Drew and Max couldn't even look at me. My aunt sat stiff in the front row like someone had glued her spine to the chair. Afterward, the lawyer read the will. It was exactly as my stepmother said. I now owned the majority stake in the family business. More than Drew and Max combined. It didn't matter what they thought. On paper, I was the boss. So I made my first and final decision. I sold it. Every truck. Every crate. Every account that hadn't already bled out. I dismantled the business my father spent his life building and sold the scraps to 3 different buyers, including my own company. I gave every employee a severance package that made them cry. Even the ones who'd laughed at me. I gave my dad's old office chair to a local thrift shop. And I never looked back. Drew sent me one last message, a voicemail I listened to once and deleted. You didn't win. You just destroyed everything. Maybe. But sometimes, destruction is the only way to build something real. And I was done asking for a seat at the table. I built my own. And I made damn sure no one would ever forget who they laughed at.